This is Lisa Cove with DoD Fed Globe, and we are here today at the OutServe Conference with the Forum on the Military's Chaplaincy. Hello, gentlemen. This is David Pyle and Chris Antal.
Well, as a military chaplain endorsed by the Unitarian Universalist Association, we are an open and affirming denomination. And for many of us, when we came into the chaplain corps, we had to struggle with whether or not we felt we could serve in a military that did not recognize the service of all Americans. And so, for me personally, that now that we have repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and now that the military is learning how to be open and affirming in the repeal meant that I could serve without that question, without whether or not my faith was being challenged by serving in a military that did not allow for open service.
Well, as a chaplain, I serve the Army National Guard in New York, and I'm also a minister in the same denomination as David. I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister. For me, being in the chaplaincy, it's just an extension of some core values we have as officers and chaplains. Respect is a core value within the Army, and diversity is a core value within the chaplaincy. So it seems only right, a natural extension of those values, to give the same dignity that's deserved to all service members, and to respect their rights as citizens to equal opportunity under the law.
Well, my faith says that we are all connected, and that what happens to one of us happens to us all. An injustice that is done to one of us is done to us all. And so when someone else's rights are being maligned or neglected or persecuted, my faith tells me that that is me being maligned and neglected and persecuted. And so being committed to the equality that we as service members fought for and have for generations died for is both part of my personal faith, part of my faith as a Unitarian Universalist minister, and part of that oath that I took when I was 18 years old and raised my hand and swore to defend the Constitution of this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
My faith journey is one from a more conservative Christian denomination into Unitarian Universalism, which is the denomination that's now my home. And an important part of that journey has been being in a community that had really open hostility towards gays and lesbians. In fact, when I was in seminary, I took a trip with a group from that seminary to the South, and we went to see some significant civil rights landmarks. I was learning about the ministry of Dr. Martin Luther King, and we visited Atlanta, and we went to Selma, and in Montgomery we visited the Southern Poverty Law Center and went to the Tolerance Museum. And I'll never forget my experience at the Tolerance Museum. At the end of that exhibit, there's a wall of tolerance, and I was there with about 30 people from my seminary, and the wall divided us, and half of us would sign that wall, put our names on that pledge, and half wouldn't. And the dividing issue was around gay and lesbian marriage, and the concern among those half that wouldn't put their name on that pledge was that in signing that pledge of tolerance, they would be openly affirming same-sex marriage. And for me, that was a shock to see that in my own faith community, that there were people who wouldn't even go to the baseline of tolerance for gays and lesbians. And that was probably a discerning moment for me when I decided that I didn't belong in that community. And that's probably where my road to becoming an ally really began. So it's something I'm still growing into, but it's an honor for me to be here and to be considered by the Forum on Military Chaplaincy as an ally.
And I'm amazed that they did invite 2 allies to come and lead a workshop on issues of pluralism and professionalism within the Military Chaplain Corps. In part because, though there are people who are lesbian, gay, and bisexual in the Chaplain Corps, it is not yet fully safe for them to be public about that within the Chaplain Corps as it currently stands. And so to be able to discuss these issues, it really, at this point, can mostly be done by those of us who are allies in order to, protect in the Chaplain Corps those who would still face some discrimination. I've met a few. I don't know if I've had this discussion with them, but I know I've met several Reformed Jewish friends.
One of my colleagues in New York is preparing as a candidate right now, and he's in a Reformed Jewish denomination, I guess is the word, and I know that when he does become a rabbi, he will be able to be an ally and support these kinds of unions. Well, I had the experience of doing the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal brief to close to 3,000 service members at Fort Drum in New York. And honestly, with all of that engagement around this issue, the soldiers I encountered were professional, and I didn't hear anything like what I might have expected in terms of disparaging jokes or disrespectful language. Now, it may have happened when I wasn't around, but I haven't really been witness to any of that. I've been impressed with the professionalism of our service members and how they've accepted this change in Department of Defense policy.